Hi, my name is Leah with the Free Motion Quilting Project, and today is a UFO Sunday. And basically I try and get in my studio, in my sewing room, pull out a UFO and get something done on it. And so today I've come into the sewing room and I pulled out this quilt. This is the 365 quilt. It's all 365 little squares that I put together and stitched out really more than 2 years ago. So this is a long-term UFO, but I've been working steadily on it, but unfortunately it reached kind of a stagnation point. So the reason this project stagnated is kind of complicated, and I think UFOs happen for a reason. There can be many different reasons. It can be many different complex reasons why we stop working on it. This particular quilt's kind of ground to a halt because I put together this one big piece. This is a collection of 6 rows of this quilt. Put this part together, and it needs a lot of handwork in order to finish it up. Didn't get it where it needed to go in the house. I do all my handwork on the couch. Did not get it to that place, and the whole project just kind of ground to a halt. I wasn't touching it. I wasn't working on it actively every day of the week. Or even looking at it, so I just didn't have any interest in putting the rest of the quilt together. The rest of the quilt just kind of stayed on my design wall, and I still consider that a UFO. Even though something's pinned up and is visible, if you're not actively touching it, working on it, moving along with the project, you've obviously abandoned it. I've abandoned this project, walked away from it, stopped actively working on it, and it's time to now return and go back to that project, pull it out, and finish it. So the one thing that kind of I looked at when working on this particular quilt today was how to get the rest of it together so that I have basically 3 big pieces that then I can just simply focus on the handwork part of it, and it will have a slow progression, but it will be something I can stitch on a little bit every single day, and it not be such a big monster hanging out in my sewing room. So, of course, I started putting the pieces together, and I realized there's also a good way to do this and a bad way to do this. The bad way to do this is to, again, just make another big piece, and I started that up here. And I realized what I really needed to do was kind of get the whole quilt to the next step, and that just simply involved putting the binding onto each row. And I have a total of another 5 rows to put binding on. So it just focused on getting the binding on number 1, and that's just one single step. It was one set of repetitive movements that I could just do those steps in order and really didn't have to think much about it during that process. Once I get all the binding strips on, then I'll focus on putting all those pieces together. And I'll put 2 together at a time and then connect those together to create 3 solid panels. So the reason why I'm kind of being picky about this is because if I walked away from it at this point today, it would still be a big monster in my sewing room. It would still be in such a state of disrepair, of broken up apartedness. I'm making up words here today. It would still be in such a split apart way that it's still going to be an overwhelming UFO. And that's what I don't want. I want to use this day and this program to really focus on trying to make our UFOs easier and quicker to get into, to pick up, pull out, and work on. And so they're a lot less intimidating, and they're not something that we have to do so much, mental calisthenics in order to pull them out and actually get the work done. So my goal for this today, I'm going to work on it one day this week, just one day, and my goal for it is to simply get all the binding strips on, and if I have time, I know the time limitation that we all are under. I have it myself, so only if I have time, I'm going to also try and get these pieces together. I doubt I have time to get another 2 big panels put together. It would be great if I did. But that is not my goal today. My goal today is just to simply get past that number 1 step, and that is all the binding strips on in place, and then some of the panels starting to put them together. So I hope that this video has helped you see. I think everyone struggles with unfinished projects, unfinished situations in their sewing room. Any craft can have this. But I really think that the reasons why we stop a project can be fairly complex. One of the reasons why I think I abandoned this is because I'm a little intimidated by the idea of the borders that I'll be adding later, and I still haven't quite worked that out in my head yet. And that is something every time I look at this project I think, how am I going to do those borders? And I can't answer that question. So working through all of those questions and working through those emotions that come with them is part of this challenge. So I hope that you will join us on the free motion quilting project and join us for this new program. You can post any progress that you have with your UFOs, any tips, any advice that you have picked up along the way of working with them. Post them to your blog. If you have photos and you don't have a blog, post those to your Flickr account or Facebook, and then link up at the bottom of the post, and that's going to be UFO Sundays on the Free Motion Quilting Project. You can find all of this and more at freemotionproject.com.